of course. Right away, as you wish. I can do that at once.
That's enough for today. Damn.
Of course. Right away, as you wish. I can do that, of course. Right away, as you wish. I can do that, of course. Right away, as you wish. I can do that, of course. Right away, as you wish. I can do that, of course. Right away, as you wish. I can do that, of course. Right away, as you wish. I can do that, of course.
Wait.
Right away, as you wish. I can do that, of course. Right away, as you wish. I can do that, of course. Right away, as you wish. I can do that, of course.
Sword Coast Legends is a computer RPG developed by Endspace and published by Digital Extremes. This game is set in the Dungeons and Dragons universe. A universe that I don't know. Okay, I'm not familiar with it. I've watched the horrible movie, I've heard people talking about it, I've read the Penny Arcade comics, but I never understood it. I'm not into it, I've never played a game of Dungeons and Dragons. So this comes from a non-fan of the genre. I've seen some negative reviews from actual die-hard fans for this game. So I really don't know where I stand in that situation, but I'm gonna talk to it like someone new to the genre, okay? Let's start. The game has a campaign, and it's one of the most generic stories I've ever played in a video game. You are an adventurer. You're inside a guild, and you have to escort a caravan. Some objects of the caravan get stolen, and then you have to look for them, and you find some other people that will help you with your quest, and then there are some dark magics involved, then there are also monsters, there are weird fantasy things. I'm not gonna lie, the story got very convoluted very fast. In the first 30 minutes I did not know where I was. That might be me, but it was really poorly written. I like me some fantasy RPGs, okay, I love the story in the Witcher games, but this one felt uninspired, uninteresting and boring. However, the campaign isn't the main goal of the story, so even though it wasn't all that great, that's not the focus of the game. The core of the game are Dungeon Master modules, which are basically custom campaigns that you can create inside the game, and they are the real focus of it, and they try to emulate what I believe to be Dungeons and Dragons games, but there was actually less story in those. You can't really customize a lot of it, so it really did feel uninspired in also that regard. The game has an isometric camera view, like the Diablo games. However, it lacks a lot of the quality and details that those games have. Most of the dungeons are boring, they're just caves with nothing in them. And I was bored of them pretty fast. Some of the forest areas, sure, they look good. But other than that, the game doesn't look all that great. It's pretty generic also in that regard, which is unfortunate because it had the potential to be fantastic. But while some of the character models look pretty good, most of the enemies are dull. And some textures are really blurry, which is kind of weird also. The gameplay, probably the most important aspect of every game. I like computer RPGs. I like Diablo 2, which is a great damn good game. And I also like The Adventures of Van Helsing, which is a game series that I discovered a couple of years ago, and it's pretty decent. They make a great job of recreating the magic of Diablo. This game fails in that department, mainly because it's boring. It's an incredibly boring game. It plays by itself most of the time. Talking about the actual combat, it's your typical point and click combat, okay? So the game plays by itself. However, most of the times my character hit nothing. As you're seeing right now, you can clearly notice me hitting the enemy, but he isn't losing a single drop of HP, except for every couple of swings. And that's horrible. That's really, really bad. And that's when you know you fucked up, okay? So, why game? Why? Also the quests, they're your usual freaking fetch quests. They're in every single RPG, but still, they're unimaginative. You also have some dialogue choices that are usually pretty simple. Get into combat with an enemy, kill the enemy, don't get into combat. What? Okay, that's a lot of choice there. The big disappointment for many fans of the genre of Dungeons and Dragons is creating a module, creating a campaign, a custom campaign. I don't know how the actual custom campaign creating with the tabletop game works, but here it was very bland. You can't customize the dungeons except for what type of enemies are in there. They're always randomly generated. You can't create real quests. You can choose how to beat a quest. Kill thought enemies, find thought objects, pretty generic stuff. And I tried creating a couple of modules. It is pretty easy to create them, which is a plus for the game. But other than that, I was like, why should I do this? I'd rather play the campaign, which is relatively long, but also feels very, very boring. Because while the actual gameplay isn't bad per se, this game is boring. I said it probably 10 times in the last 2 minutes, and I repeat it again. Boring. Boring! And that's the cardinal sin of gaming. You make a game boring, I can't recommend it. So, I already can't recommend this game, guys, so sorry for that. The game is challenging, but mostly frustrating, because as you've already seen, hitting enemies is really hard, especially if you're alone. But if you are in a party of other players or of other characters inside the game, it gets pretty easy. 3 characters keep attacking someone, one stays behind, one of them falls, that guy goes save the other guy, the other 2 people keep hitting the boss, the enemy, whatever, rinse and repeat. Try to kill the monster, one falls, the other revives them. Challenging? Yeah, but more frustrating than challenging, especially if you're alone. Sound-wise, as I've already seen in the intro, damn, it is repetitive. It's easily... It was driving me mad, okay? Freaking repeating voices every single time that you click somewhere on the screen. Okay. Other than that, the voice acting in the campaign is very cheesy, but also very fantasy-like, and I enjoyed it for what it's worth. And also, the soundtrack. The soundtrack is relaxing. It's a good soundtrack. It's a very relaxing one. Especially after 10 minutes of hearing someone repeat the same 5 lines. Every 5 lines every single time you click somewhere on the map, he says it. He says all of them. That's why the sound gets a 5, okay? You'll see it at the end. A 5 because it's really halfway. It is very good, but damn, the simple fact that it's so repetitive every single time you click somewhere brings it down to a 5. I'm sorry, guys. The game does have replay value if you're into dungeon crawlers, because the dungeons are randomly generated in the dungeon crawl mode. The story you can replay it in the harder difficulties, but there aren't that many choices to make that will change the eventual outcome of the game. So if you're into those games, there is plenty of replay value, but for me personally, I will never come back to this game, I'm sorry. Overall, Sword Coast Legends is a big disappointment. At first I was actually enjoying it, but after having played more of the story, it got really boring. The combat is dull, it's uninspired, it's generic, and creating dungeons and creating custom campaigns is not fun, and you don't have that much level of creativity in them. So, if you like Dungeons and Dragons, you probably won't like it, because I've seen other reviews on Steam of die-hard fans, I'm telling you. They are hating this game for the lack of customization. And also the story, if you like fantasy stories, I think that it's not worth buying for it as well. Tell me in the comments below if you've played Sword Coast Legends, if you're looking forward to it, let me know. Thanks for watching, guys. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.